Love of the Unloved, written by Lostfol. Slows stood in front of the Galactic Republic. His image was projected onto the large screen behind him. He knew that it was also on the personal screens of each representative. He was waiting for the noise to die down so that he could continue. All of the anger still amazed him. He had only uttered one word. Humans. The mere mention of the species started this. It sent this collection of ambassadors and diplomats into an uproar. He wished that he was surprised by this, but he wasn't. Many races feared humans. Their tumultuous and chaotic nature made them hard to understand. Every other race looked rather stable by comparison. The latest unrest was a direct byproduct. As the din finally started to settle down, he saw his opportunity to continue. We all know of their many negatives. Most of you hate them, at the very least have little love of them. They don't even try to hide from this or deny it. Their constant state of warfare amongst themselves makes us all wary of them, and to that the fact their politics are more unstable than the gas on Evictor, too. Even the planets they control are not united, much less their space. Slows noted that a smug satisfaction appeared on many of their faces. Most of these races wanted nothing more than to have an effort to erase humans from known space. We are also aware of the ruthlessness of their corporations and criminal elements. I doubt there is a space station in the galaxy that has not felt the presence of one or both. Their divided nature and lack of common standard make them infuriating to deal with. Another thing they won't deny. Slows could see a lot of nods and smiles starting to form. They thought that he was there to call for a war they desired. I know what many of you think. We could roll our feet in and be done with them in a week. After all, they are newcomers to space. How tough would it be with our more advanced technology, right? He had to admit the guilty pleasure as the many representatives of the various races took the bait that he had offered. Cries of assent began again, forcing him to wait for them to die down. There is no denying their wickedness and duplicitous nature. Many of you are justified in your anger. Humans have caused chaos and done damage that we wouldn't consider. But before we rush into anything, I would offer a few things for consideration. He could imagine many of the senators from the older races were starting to suspect his ploy. Humans are not amongst us today because they are so divided. They could not select a single individual to represent them. Yet we sit here with them at the forefront of our discussions. Consider the power united humanity would pose. There were murmurs of dissent, but now they were listening. How many of your economies or stations are reliant on human corporations? What would happen if you were suddenly deprived of their goods and services? Many of our most critical infrastructure elements are built by humans. They also have almost all of the contracts to maintain that infrastructure. They are the best equipped species for working in the void. He was a little surprised to hear the Korlak utter a profanity. He hadn't even thought about the fact that the warlike race had contracted human corporations. They had hired human shipbuilders to build their warships. How many of you have human criminal elements keeping crime on your stations managed? It's low enough to allow your economies to actually grow. Their criminal organizations are focused on making money. They don't tolerate much that disrupts the flow. Prior to them, we fought crime. They manage it. At this point, many of the representatives were looking at the floor. They knew that this was true. Many had formed agreements with these organized crime groups. Beyond that, how many conflicts have any of your species had with human militaries, outside of border skirmishes. I'd wager none. Since the Kartrak Empire invaded them, we have not seen them unite. Their internal warfare few dares to intervene in. The humans' rules of war, odd though they may be, only apply when they fight themselves. How easy is it to forget how terrifying the Kartrak had been before they hit the humans? Slows was one of the few species long lived enough to remember firsthand. Humanity went from a curiosity to being the most feared race almost overnight. They glassed entire planets and crushed the Empire. That wasn't the terrifying part, though. Other races had done that. It was after they won, the humans absorbed the contract people. Their culture has already permeated all aspects of our lives, from their music and arts. We can find examples on every planet. Their wide range of foods and spices have something every palate enjoyed. There is not a planet that doesn't offer something from them. They did not trickle out to the stars as the rest of us did. They exploded into space, driven by everything from divided governments to individual investors and religious groups. He could see several of the representatives pulling statistics. Think about the growth they undertook, and then think about how much they have learned from each of us. Do any of you believe that we will have a technological advantage? No one has seen their military might outside of their own internal skirmishes in over 200 cycles. He still remembers the horrible weapons the humans had used against the Kartrak. Entire worlds he had believed forever soured to life. The only thing more shocking had been when humans started repairing those worlds. This isn't even hitting upon what they have done for medical advancement. We all know they are notoriously tough to kill, but have we considered how much of our own medical treatments are based on theirs? Their willingness to modify their bodies has advanced all medicine. They understand how life works at levels none of us do. Remember when a ruptured exoskeleton was a death sentence due to infection? Well, they introduced us to the cleansing chemicals and medical adhesives. He knew this would hit home with his dozens of species who had exoskeletons. Many of the representatives present were only alive because of this. Finally, I would ask you to consider something else, as terrible as many of their actions can be. Who has been the first to respond to any disaster? Have they ever been biased regarding of what race it hits? Have they ever asked for payment for the resources they spent? Whose name has become our word for the unsicked free aid, humanitarian aid? As he finished, Slows looked towards the Galactic representatives. It was dead quiet. None dared to speak out. Slows' arguments had hit upon things they all knew. He gave them a couple minutes to process before he continued. So, respected ambassadors, I do not presume to defend the humans. I would not even claim to understand them. I doubt they intended offense worthy of galactic war discussed here. It is highly likely the Valentines we all received was not intended as an insult. It appears to have been meanings beyond a reference to the human historic criminal warfare. The symbol on the front was a human heart symbol, not a Kerchak war declaration, though very similar. Well, they may be unloved. I think they are saying they love us. Slows watched the other ambassadors process this. He was confident the humans didn't even realize the reaction their note would cause. It was the human way, oblivious or unconcerned by the waves they left around them. Just as he was confident they knew everything discussed in this chamber. End of story. Story number 2. Human Ships, written by Roaringbeardragon. Grandok swiveled his optical organs to target the vessel in front of him. The slight noise of chitin grinding on chitin emitted as he did so. The ship in question was the Forge Father. The Forge Father was a human mining ship with built-in refineries to process gathered ore. Grondok had always found human ships strange. It was not that they had no elegance or style, or that they had too much. Rather, they had both style and elegance, while remaining totally practical with little exterior decoration. The ship, in particular, had no exterior decoration whatsoever. The Forge Father, with a huge mouth of tractor beams, drills, and mining lasers on the front. Human ships were some of the few in the galaxy with a front and back, and a large array of thrusters and other propulsion devices on the back. On all other faces of the vehicle were various doors, hatches, and ramps for entering and exiting the craft, and I was about to enter. I was guided in by a human female with brown fur and skin. They spoke to me before we entered. "Hello, Inspector. My name is Sasha, and I'm here to take you to our captain." "So be it, human. Let us enter," I reluctantly said. Redaxians are capable of speaking most human tongues, so I did not need a translator besides. This felt more natural. My legs clinked on the metal floor of the airlock through which we entered, as I attached the breathing aids necessary to survive in human-safe oxygen. With a faint hiss, the airlock finished its work, and we were released into a bare metal corridor with a ramp at the opposite end. Once we climbed the ramp, I was taken through several similar corridors to the bridge. "Greetings, Inspector," the human male spoke as I entered. He had hair of a similar color to Sol, the star of the human's home system, and his skin was pink, though to me and all other Redaxians it was the color of our home star, red. "Greetings, human. My name is Grondok. Today I shall carry out my duty as a survey your ship's as its costume for the estray of 300 human souls or greater." I drawled proficiently. "Please give me a tour." "Well," the human captain replied, "my name is Andrew, and first of all, this is the bridge, a central point where the majority of the controls are located." "Yes, I know that," I hissed. "On to the next room." Throughout my inspection, I became increasingly worried. It appeared human ships were most definitely not designed for safety above all else, like the ships of every other species. But that couldn't be correct, right? In the end, I expressed my many doubts, not truly expecting a reply. But the reply simply made me more worried. "Human, that's not a reactor. That's just a cleverly disguised bomb, leaking power." "Oh yes, that's just a nuclear fission reactor. Don't worry about it." "What? That's nothing like a fission reactor. It doesn't even have the safety beams. And human, you mean to say that these toxins and bioweapons are your food?" Yeah, those are coffee and chili powder." Roughly one rasket later, I had finished my inspection, after which I was taken to the bridge and asked my verdict, though I allowed their stay, as they technically hadn't broken any rules. I immediately sent a message to the station command asking for 1. Me to never inspect a human ship again, and 2. For all humans to be placed in a separate hangar to other species, to avoid our imminent death. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Caspar Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.